Before we get into today's episode, I want to ask you a quick favour. If you're getting value from any of our podcasts, and I genuinely hope you are, could you take just 30 seconds right now and leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify? It sounds like a small thing, but a rating would make a huge difference, and it'll take less time than pouring a cup of coffee. G'day, welcome back to the AgriCoach Wealth and Wisdom Podcast. My name's Ben Law and I'm the Financial Bloke, back with another mini episode. These short episodes are designed to give you something to listen to on the go, while you're shifting cattle, fixing a trough, planting some crops, or rolling into town for parts. There's generally no fluff and no guests, just one idea that might change how you show up for your family and your future. Today I want to talk about something that brings more families undone than drought, debt, or bad seasons combined. And it's not luck, it's not bad decisions, it's avoidance. The habit of seeing something that needs addressing in your family, knowing it's there, and choosing consciously or not to walk past it. And I want to be honest with you about why this happens. Because it's not weakness, it's not stupidity, it's actually completely human. Avoidance, you see, feels like the smart move in the moment. The timing feels wrong. You're flat out. The family's getting along okay. And pulling this one thread right now feels like it might cause more trouble than it's worth. So you leave it. And that decision, that completely understandable, very human decision, is the one that costs families everything. Now let me paint you a picture. You're out doing your morning checks and you notice a drip of oil under the tractor. It's small. The tractor's running fine. You're right in the middle of harvest or seeding, and pulling it right down now feels like the worst possible timing. You make a mental note and you'll get to it later. Except you don't really get to it. You get busy and the drip becomes normal and you stop noticing it. And then one day out in the middle of the paddock, at the worst possible moment, the engine seizes. And what would have been a $200 fix in the shed is now a $50,000 rebuild, if you're lucky. Now every farmer listening to this knows that feeling. And here's what I want you to sit with. You would never ignore an oil leak on a $500,000 tractor. But most families ignore exactly that kind of leak in their relationships, in their business structures, and in their future for years. Because here's the truth about avoidance in family businesses. It's rarely one big dramatic blow up that causes all the damage. It's the slow drip of conversations that never happen. The family that never sat down and talked honestly about the future direction of the family and the business. The parents who assumed the kids would just figure out their roles. The next generation who never got asked what they actually wanted or what was standing in their way. No one planned to avoid it. Life just kept moving, the farm kept running, and the conversations kept getting pushed to the next month, the next season, or the next year. Until one day, the engine seizes. Now here's the part I want you to really hear. There's a saying I consistently remind myself of, especially when things feel tough. When every lazy cell in my body is telling me to chase the short-term comfort and leave it for another day, to avoid the thing that needs facing. And it's this. Avoidance will give you short-term comfort, but it's guaranteed to cause long-term suffering. Now, it feels like relief in the moment, but it's a debt, and like all debts, it compounds. Every year you don't have that conversation, the cost goes up. Every season you leave the leak, the damage gets worse. So let me be really blunt. If your kids are just coming back to the farm, or they're starting to ask questions about their future role in the business, I want you to hear this clearly. You have 10 years to get this right, or 10 years to watch it unravel. Now, 10 years sounds like a long time, I know, and that's exactly why most families don't start when they should. The urgency is invisible until it suddenly isn't. But every delayed conversation is another nail in the coffin. Every year that passes without a real plan is another year of assumptions building on assumptions, resentment quietly seeding, and the next generation losing faith that there's actually a solid future here for them. Think about what needs to be talked about. What does the business actually look like in 10 years? And does everyone in the family see the same picture? What does the next generation actually want? Not what you assume they want. What do they actually want? What are the barriers, the thing that's nobody saying aloud, that are quietly standing in the way of this working? These aren't comfortable conversations, but they are $200 conversations. But leave them long enough and they'll become $50,000 ones. So here's what I want you to ask yourself this week. Where's the oil leak in your family or your business? My guess is you probably knew before I finished this sentence. Maybe it's the succession conversation that keeps getting pushed out to next year. Maybe it's the next generation who's back on the farm, but nobody actually wants to sit down and map out what their future looks like. Maybe it's the roles, the ownership, the direction, all the things everyone's assuming will sort themselves out, but they won't. The tractor's still running, for now. But the drip's still there, and time doesn't care about your timing. Get it in the shed, sit down as a family, start the conversation about the future, about what everyone wants, about what's in the way. Because the families that build something genuinely worth handing on aren't the ones who never had hard conversations. They're the ones who started them early, while the fix was cheap and the future was still wide open. Now, if this conversation or this information was valuable, make sure you share it with a family who you think would benefit from it. And until next time, I'm Ben Law, I'm the Financial Bloke, and remember, it's more important who you are than what you've got.